All right, let's go on a quest, a journey to find the absolute most fundamental building blocks of, well, everything. The screen you're looking at, the air you're breathing, even you. We're talking about atoms. So, what are these things, really? Let's dive in and find out. Just imagine for a second you have this magic knife, right? And you can cut anything in half, over and over again. You grab a piece of gold and you slice it. You take the tiny piece and you slice it again. But what happens if you keep going? Is there a point where you just can't cut anymore? What would you even call that final ultimate particle? This single question is what kicked off a scientific mystery that took thousands of years to solve. The funny thing is, this whole journey didn't start in some fancy high-tech lab with beakers and computers. Nope, it started inside the minds of ancient philosophers, people who were just trying to understand the world using nothing but logic and thought. And what's just wild is the time gap here. You've got these incredible ideas popping up way back around 500 BC, but then it's like 2,000 years of scientific radio silence on the topic. It wasn't until the 18th century that scientists finally started to dig up some real, solid evidence. So what gives? What's the big difference? Well, thinkers like Maharishi Kanad in India, who called this tiny particle Parmanu, and Democritus over in Greece, who actually coined the word atoms, which means indivisible, they had a brilliant idea, but that's all it was, an idea based on pure thought. To turn that idea into a proper scientific theory, you need more. You need proof. You need experiments. Okay, let's hit fast forward and jump to the 18th century. This is where our story gets its first real heroes. Think of them as a team of chemical detectives, starting to piece together the clues that would finally crack the case of the atom. Our lead detective is Antoine Lavoisier, and he was the ultimate rule maker. He laid down one of the most fundamental rules of the universe. It's like this. Imagine you're baking a cake. If you weigh all your ingredients, the flour, sugar, eggs, everything, before you mix them, their total weight is going to be exactly the same as the weight of the final cake. Nothing just vanishes and nothing appears out of thin air. It all just gets rearranged. Next on the team is Joseph Proust, our pattern spotter. While Lavoisier set the big rule, Proust noticed something really specific, a crucial pattern. He realized that compounds aren't just random mixtures, they're like super specific recipes, which this quote explains perfectly. Let's just take water. It doesn't matter if you get your water from a glacier in Antarctica, a river in the Amazon, or you make it in a lab in New Jersey. The recipe is always the same. For every 1 gram of hydrogen, you need exactly 8 grams of oxygen. Always. It's a fixed ratio. It's like a cosmic rule. And this was our second massive clue. So, we've got 2 huge clues, right? 1, matter can't just disappear. And 2, elements combine in these fixed, predictable recipes. But who was going to put it all together? Well, that brings us to our master theorist, John Dalton, the man who finally connected all the dots and drew up the blueprint for the atom. And the amazing thing about Dalton is where he came from. He wasn't some wealthy aristocrat with a fancy lab. No, he was born into a poor weaver's family and started working as a teacher when he was just 12 years old. His incredible breakthroughs were driven by nothing more than pure curiosity, and man, did he change science forever. Okay, the easiest way to get Dalton's theory is to think about Legos, seriously. First rule, everything in the universe is made of these tiny Lego bricks we call atoms. Second, these bricks are indivisible and indestructible. You can't just cut a Lego brick in half, right? Third, all the red bricks are identical to all the other red bricks, just like all oxygen atoms are identical to each other. And fourth, they click together in simple whole number combinations. 1 red brick clicks onto 1 blue brick. You never see half a brick trying to connect to anything. So, Dalton's theory was a total game changer. It gave us the basic rulebook for all of chemistry. But what are these little building blocks actually like? Let's zoom in and get a better look. First of all, and you really have to wrap your head around this, they are just impossibly tiny. A single hydrogen atom is about 1/10 billionth of a meter wide. You could line up millions of them on the head of a pin. This is why we can't see them. They exist on a scale our brains can barely even comprehend. So if they're too small to see, how in the world do we weigh them? Well, we don't. Not directly anyway. Instead, we do something clever. We measure their relative mass. Think of it like a fruit seller who lost his weights. He just grabs a big watermelon and says, okay, this watermelon is my standard. It weighs 12 units. Then he cuts it into 12 perfect slices. Now each slice is 1 unit. He can weigh all his other fruit just by comparing them to his watermelon slices. Scientists do the exact same thing, but our watermelon is a carbon-12 atom. Everything else is measured against it. So we've got these tiny, individual atomic Legos. But the world isn't just a pile of loose bricks. So how do they actually build anything? Well, they don't stay alone for long. They team up and connect with each other to form molecules. A molecule is really just a team of atoms that are chemically stuck together. It's the smallest possible piece of something that can still be called that something. That single H2O molecule, that's the smallest possible bit of stuff that you can still call water. Any smaller, and it's just hydrogen and oxygen. So how do they know how many of each other to grab onto? Well, they have this thing called valency, which is just a fancy word for its combining power. The best way to picture it is to think of arms. A human has 2 arms. Now picture an octopus with 8 arms. How many 2-armed humans can that one octopus hold onto at the same time? 4, right? That's valency. It dictates the exact recipe for how atoms bond. And this whole arms idea gives us this super simple, almost like a cheat code for writing chemical formulas. You literally just write down the symbols for the atoms, you write down their valency, their number of arms, and then you just crisscross the numbers. The number of arms on the first atom tells you how many of the second atom you need, and the other way around. It's an incredibly neat system for mapping out how molecules get built. Okay, what a journey, right? We've gone from an ancient philosophical question all the way to Dalton's brilliant blueprint for chemistry. So now, let's put these rules into practice. It's time to test your newfound knowledge with a couple of quick challenges. First up, a little test from our man Lavoisier. Take a look at these numbers. You've got your starting ingredients, the reactants, and your final products. Does the mass you start with equal the mass you end with? What do you think? Let's do the math. On the reactant side, we've got 5.3 plus 6. That gives us 11.3 grams. Okay, now the products. 2.2 plus 0.9 plus 8.2. Yup, that also equals 11.3 grams. The scale is perfectly balanced. The law holds true. Mass was conserved. All right, one last challenge. This one's from Proust, our pattern spotter. We know water's recipe is that fixed 1:8 ratio by mass. So, if you've got 3 grams of hydrogen, how many grams of oxygen do you need to turn it all into water? Well, if that recipe is always 1:8, then for our 3 grams of hydrogen, we just multiply that 3 by 8. Simple as that. It gives us 24 grams of oxygen. The universe's recipe book is consistent, and that lets us make these kinds of perfect predictions. We've come so far, from just an idea to a full-blown scientific theory. Dalton gave us the atom as that final, indivisible Lego brick. But that just begs the question, doesn't it? What if you can smash the Lego? What secrets are hiding inside that supposedly indivisible little atom? Well, that is a story for another time. Thanks for joining me.